how's it going? Thank you for tuning in. Let's check the time here. Damn near almost 1 o'clock in the morning. You know what time it is, scary story times. Say shout out to Wansee Entertainment. They're killing the game right now with the stories. They're providing this video. I'm not sponsored by them. I'm not saying I am or anything. But shout out to them real quick. So before I get started on this video, I'm just gonna say that I'm gonna probably break it down into parts because it is a 50-minute long video. Probably gonna break down like 3, maybe 5 parts, depending on how, big the stories are. With that being said, let's get started. Let's see if we actually get scared this time, for real. Feel me? I had a girlfriend who stalked me.
My
Been
name
there, bro.
is Dan. This happened 3 years ago. I moved out of my parents' house
I
once
put
I
up in
started
a
making a
Beamer.
steady
That boy said
paycheck.
he got that
I'm a
check right.
plumber, and one day I had to go to someone's house to fix some pipes. There was a married couple and their daughter living there. Their daughter was 22 at the time. She was 6 months older than me, and her name was Amanda. While I was working,
Okay.
she was talking to me, asking if I was single and
That
stuff
boy
like
laying
that.
down the sauce.
To be honest, she seemed pretty cute. We exchanged phone numbers and eventually started dating, and she even moved into my house. We were 3 months
3
into our
months and this
relationship.
boy already asked her
and
to
stuff
move in?
started to get out of hand. She was always getting mad and annoyed so easily. She always started arguments and so on. This began to happen all of the time, even in public, which was incredibly embarrassing. One day I had enough and I had to break up with her, and I told her to leave and never come back. Amanda was pretty pissed off when I said that. I just ignored her, and when she was packing her stuff, she finally left, or so I thought. After that day, she would always show up at my house, harass me, throw rocks at my window, and so on. I'd called the cops many times, but she was gone by the time they showed up. About a month later, when I came home from working, I would find her in her house, yelling at me to come back,
No
or I'd find
way.
writing on my walls that would say, "Come back."
Let me know in the
The
comments or
writing
anything
eventually
if
went from
any of these
pencil
stories are
to
actually
marker,
true.
and
I
they
know
wrote
some of them
fucking
are,
blood.
but some of them
And
aren't.
Jess,
But
being
that's
serious
crazy
when I said
when
blood,
they are true.
that bitch carved my name a bunch of times into her arms and legs. She only got into my house because I forgot to take the house key back from her at the time. In hindsight, I'm such an idiot, I know. That psycho knew where my parents lived and showed up to their house during the night. My mom almost had a heart attack when she woke up to the sound of a knife being tapped on the window glass. When she woke up, she saw Amanda standing there, staring at her while
When you
psychotically
get that
smiling at
shotty,
her.
bro.
Amanda did a lot, which really pissed me off. So one night, I decided to stay overnight at my parents' house. It was about 2 in the morning when I heard a tapping noise in the window next to me. I turned and saw Amanda staring right at me. Her eyes were wide open and red. She had bags under her eyes and a huge smile. I went outside and started yelling at her to stay away from me and my family, but she screamed at the top of her lungs and charged at me with a knife. I punched her right in the face, which knocked her out. I called the cops and made sure Amanda didn't wake up while they were arriving. The cops came quickly while Amanda was knocked out. They found my house key on her, and she was arrested and eventually sentenced for a long while. After Amanda was sentenced, my parents and I moved out of state because we'd like to stay as far away from Amanda as we possibly can, because she will eventually be released.
You already know, bro. Get that restraining order. Creepy stranger at a hotel.
This happened to me at the beginning of this year, just after I lost my husband to meningitis.
Oh, God.
I had moved in with my father and taken a job at a local hotel. It was a nice,
sound like
cushy
it can be
job that wasn't
contagious, bro.
very
You should get
stressful,
yourself checked
and
out.
it was also nice to me in my grief-stricken state. The job was the night shift front desk manager position. So I was watching scary movies or listening to creepy podcasts that seemed to help keep me awake. My husband had never liked scary things like I did, so it was nice getting back to something that was mine. Being the night worker, I was always by myself during my shift. The hotel was new, so it wasn't creepy to be by myself, especially since there was always someone around as far as guests went, and on top of that, my boss was always a phone call away. I knew I'd have backup if needed. Anyway, it was a night like any other. I was in the back office behind the desk, watching the cameras and listening to a podcast while twirling a pen around, waiting for hours to tick away. The hotel was pretty empty, so I felt more alone than usual. I looked down at my phone as my podcast ended and went to pick another one when
I'm
I
gonna get my water.
noticed movement outside the building on the cameras. A guest was walking in. I hadn't seen a car pull in from the driveway camera, but I chalked it up to me just not paying attention and went to the desk. The man walked in and I quickly noticed his
That would look
clothes
creepy.
were
He looked
dirty,
like he came back
tattered,
from
and that he
burying
had this
somebody.
odd smell to him. Metallic smelling. I shook off the weird feeling and looked up at his face before greeting him. And I noticed that his eyes weren't on me, but the wall behind, just above me. I followed his gaze, wondering what he could be looking at, but there wasn't anything there. I was confused, but thought maybe he was lost in thought. I greeted him again, but his gaze still remained on the wall.
What are you looking at?
I was starting to get freaked out, but kept my cool and cleared my throat. "Sir, is there something I can help you with?" I asked more firmly. Quickly, his eyes flicked down, and those eyes were wide and crazy looking. It startled me enough that I took a small step back. His previously blank expression grew into that of a crazed, wide smile. He was missing teeth, and the second his lips parted, I could smell his rotten breath. It made my stomach churn. Before I could open my mouth, I watched his eyes slowly creep up and down my body, as if he were undressing me with his eyes. Then his eyes moved to my hand, and his smile faded into a hate-filled glare. His eyes were on my wedding ring. Well, yes, I still wore it, as I wasn't ready to give it up yet. "What the heck is that?" he asked, his voice thick and gruff and full of anger. "My wedding ring, sir. I'm married," I said, thinking maybe he was drunk. His glare got worse as his eyes met mine again. "Married? You lying bitch! You never told me you were married! You lied to me!" "Sir, I don't know what you're talking about, and I'm afraid that I'm going to have to ask you to leave." I was so scared at that moment, but tried desperately not to cry. He was still shouting at me. "So, you're kicking me out of my own home? You're a little
It's
hussy.
a hotel.
I'm taking what's owed to me. Get over here." He reached across the counter to try and grab me, and I let out a scream, stumbled back, tripping over my long skirt. I crawled quickly for the office door as he rushed to the counter. He grabbed my shirt, tearing it down the back as I went to slam the door shut, and I slammed it on his hand, making him scream in pain as I heard the bones break. As he let me go, I managed to finally shut and lock it before going into my boss's office. And as I dialed 911, I could hear him screaming at the office door, kicking as hard as he could to get it open. The operator stayed on the phone with me until the cops arrived. It took 3 grown officers and a taser gun to take him down and get him in the car. When everything was safe, I was sat down for a statement, and my boss and father were called. As my father was getting me into his truck, I heard an officer say that the man was a highly wanted man from Florida who had escaped a psychiatric facility.
There's always some people in Florida,
After
bro.
he escaped the facility, he went looking for young brunette girls who were heavyset like me, or rather like his late wife. He had killed her and cut out her eyes and breasts, and done the same to 2 other girls in Alabama, so I could only guess he planned to do the same to me. Thank God for strong deadbolts and all of the police officers.
Crying woman in cubicle.
I used to work at a call center company, and my shift started at 11 p.m. Since training, I'd heard a lot of ghost stories about our building. Of course, I didn't believe them, and I really wouldn't have cared anyway, because all I cared about was work. One night, I went on a short break to go to the comfort room. Our office is located at the left corner of the building, and usually it's quite dark compared to the other office corners. I normally use the comfort room in the middle of our building because it's bigger and a lot of people go there. But since it was just a short break, I chose to use the executive's comfort room because it was much closer. Besides, it was always clean and looked a lot nicer compared to the other ones. When you enter the comfort room, the first thing you see on your right side are 2 sinks, a large mirror, and 2 lights above them. Then there are 3 cubicles on the right side and 2 cubicles on the left side of the room. When I entered, I noticed that the room was a little bit darker than usual. Some of the lights were not on, and only the cubicle in the corner on the right side had paper left, so I entered that one. When I was sitting on the toilet, I heard someone come in and entered the cubicle next to mine. And then I heard a woman crying. I tried to ask if she was okay, but she just kept crying. As I finished my business and stood up, the crying suddenly stopped. Concerned, I stood outside the door of the middle cubicle, knocked slightly and asked again if she was okay, but there was still no answer. I tried peeking under the cubicle door, but no one was in there. But I could have sworn I heard someone come in earlier. I felt a bit spooked as I remembered the ghost stories that my coworkers used to tell about our building. I started walking fast to the exit, but somehow the doorknob that was fine when I'd entered was now broken, and I couldn't get the door to open. I was getting actually scared. The crying began again. I started banging on the door and shaking the doorknob. It was no use.
Nobody take the night shift.
And then the sound of the woman crying started getting closer. Panicking, I also started crying while banging desperately on the door. The crying stopped. I could feel the woman standing right behind me. One of the lights in the ceiling started flickering, and the door still wouldn't open. I tried to avoid looking back in fear of what I might see, but from the corner of my eye, I saw in the mirror a reflection of a woman in the flickering light. She wasn't standing
That was the same girl from the first one.
Half of her face was visible in one of the cubicle doorways. I closed my eyes. I was soaked in cold sweat. I remember shaking from fear, thinking I was going to die. I started praying as I cried. Only a minute or 2, though it felt much longer, passed before the door suddenly opened and a maintenance lady stepped in. I was so relieved. I told her about what had happened.
Saved by the Bell.
She just apologized for the broken doorknob and ignored everything I said about the crying woman. I went straight to the office and apologized to my supervisor for coming back late from my break. I tried to tell her about what happened and told her that I was not feeling well, that I didn't think I could finish my shift that night. She didn't seem to believe my story. I warned my coworkers as well.
She just won't
Told them about
clout,
my
bro.
scary toilet trip. I never went back to that comfort room ever again, and eventually left my job a few months later.
Alright. So, we're gonna stop. Damn, bro, hour 33 minutes. We're gonna stop it right there. Part 2 is coming up soon, so stay tuned. You know what you guys think? I personally do like these scary stories better than what I was looking at before, because even though it might be fake, it's still a scary story and it's still pretty good. I like to get chills down my spine. So let me know. Thank you for watching. Thank you if you stay till the end. Stay tuned for more. I appreciate you guys. Love you. Deuces.